Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. All right, today I am going to be doing something a little different because I got inspired by something magical that happened recently. So after 8 years of recording this podcast, and as we wrap up another incredible year together, I wanted to create a special holiday episode for you. Just think of it as a cozy fireside feeling compilation of some of the most impactful, talked about, and transformative moments from this show this past year, 2025. And if you can think of this as a reel for, just conversations, breakthroughs, aha moments that have shifted the way that you show up in dating, relationships, and most of all, yourself this year. Now, as you know, as a therapist, I coach, and I always say transformation is rarely one big moment. It's a collection of the small shifts that add up over time that creates that big transformation, that creates that bigger win. And when I look back at these episodes, I see exactly that. It's the tiny sparks that turned into these big changes for so many of you. And these were these episodes that you messaged me about, the ones that you shared with your friends, the ones that maybe made you laugh or cry or get honest with yourself, challenge your patterns, and most importantly, take bold action in your dating life. So here's what inspired me to do this. And it was a beautiful message I got recently on Instagram. And it was such a beautiful shock. It was from one of the women who was recently on the second season of The Golden Bachelor. And a lot of you know who she is. I'm not going to say who it is because you'll hear from her probably soon. But I was shocked to learn that my podcast and advice, ironically, helped her rebuild her life after getting a divorce years ago. And since then, she has recommended my advice to all of her friends who are going through a divorce or had a loss of a spouse. And she thanked me for my red dress theory. And now she wants to come onto my podcast to spread the love and the message, which, by the way, she will be coming up in the new year. And I can't wait to disclose who it is. But it's crazy because you never know who is listening and who you touch. Also, another one of my clients emailed me after listening to an episode, and I think it was talking about breaking old dating patterns and limiting beliefs. And she said, Kimmy, something clicked. I realized I've been choosing emotionally unavailable men, not because it keeps happening to me, but because on some level it felt familiar. Oh, yeah, I was talking about the familiarity principle, and I've done that on a couple episodes. And for the first time, I'm ready to choose differently. So fast forward a few months, she's flourishing. She's dating someone who is actually available and attracting men who show up. So I guess you just never know who you touch, and that goes for you too. That's what the show is all about. So this holiday compilation is a celebration of how we all touch each other and the importance of community, the importance of connection. And I always say, as AI gets bigger and we get a little bit more fragmented, I'm sorry, but AI is never going to be able to touch a sense of community, a sense of humanity. And I'm going to keep doing this. And hopefully one day I'll be doing a celebration of my 10th year doing this show and 20 year, God willing. And so I really just want to celebrate you and thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening. And it's hearing about your successes and your inspirations that keeps me doing this podcast. So happy New Year, enjoy, and let's dive in. as a therapist, I'm also curious because, like, as you're saying these different archetypes, I can already see some of like even our upbringing and how it shapes
Mhm.
us as daters, you know, and
Oh,
and to your
yeah.
point, like you know, sometimes they're gifts in disguise. And, you know, like I work with a ton of people who are just people pleasers and over
Mhm.
caregivers, as I call it. I
Yeah.
mean, I was definitely one of them when I mean, dating as a therapist was not sexy, let me tell you. I threw everybody on the couch, right? Like when I first got out there and dated. And so I like one of two things would happen. Either I would attract, you know, the fixer uppers, right? The
Mhm.
narcissists, the takers, or like the ones who would be like actually good partners and in a healthier way, they were like lady, like, woo, too
Yeah.
much. You know, there was nothing sexy about it and there was no sense of earning them. So that's why I think it's really interesting, like how it shapes us. However, it's not getting rid of being the maverick or,
No.
you
Correct.
know, being the people
Correct.
pleaser or whatever it is. It's just letting people earn that about you and use it in a way that serves you. So I
Right.
think that's really like interesting about it. Okay, so what's
Bingo.
another trap? So we talked about
Yeah.
on demand. What's the next one?
Yeah, first of all, I would definitely guess that you're a dreamer thinker, but we can come back to
Oh,
that
really?
later.
Oh, oh,
I will have to buy the
interesting.
book and take the test to find out.
I was thinking maybe Energizer, but I don't know.
Oh, I
Now
can
we're
see
now
that
we're
too.
gonna find out.
Anyways,
Can you be
another
all of
trap.
them?
You
Can I
can.
just
I
be
mean,
all
that's
of
the
them?
Oh,
thing is everyone has a little bit of
Yeah,
everything. It's just
yeah.
what's dominant for you. The
Right.
next trap that we think is really fundamental is what we call the settling paradox. And,
Oh,
every I think everyone's biggest fear in dating is settling. And I think there's due reason for that. Like we are also experiencing like the fallout of divorce and marriage not necessarily saving us and being the be all end all, and we want to choose well. And we are not saying that you should not prioritizing choosing well, but I think what ends up happening is we end up settling for the wrong things. And for instance, like we're so afraid to settle for someone that's not like our ideal, because especially in today's world, it feels like choices are abundant. Like you can cherry pick who you want on a dating app like Amazon, back to that. And we think that we can have this list, whether it's a conscious list we have or just living in our heads of like, I need the most aspirational qualities even of myself. Like we've seen people be like, well, I need a fellow runner, even though they haven't run like a half marathon in years. But it's like one of those things that, it feels like I've earned it. So I need someone to my level and I don't want to settle. But what ends up happening is that we settle for situationships or
yeah.
unfulfilling relationships. And we're not focused on the right qualities, because like in apps, for instance, you can only filter by height or someone's location or what their occupation is. We don't know if they're someone that is all in and committed or a kind, trustworthy person. Like we don't get that info, so that's not what makes it to the top of our list.
Interesting. So question about that one. Could it go the other way too, where like no one's good enough, like where people are like
Oh
vetting so
yeah.
hard? Is that the same kind of trap are you talking about?
Yes,
yes.
absolutely.
Ah,
Well,
yes.
you could think,
Absolutely.
well, what we see is a lot of people think there's no one good enough. There's
Yeah.
no one good enough on the apps. Like
Correct.
there's nobody out there.
Right.
Yet then you look at who they allow into their lives. It's
Yes.
the situationships. It's the cat and mouse games. It's the waiting for text back. I love giving this example because I think it fully encapsulates the settling paradox. I went on a third date with someone. It was a hiking date. I show up to the date and I totally was like grossed out by the fact that he wore black socks on a hiking date.
I could help him with that, but continue.
But
Reach
but
out to him 10 years
Easy
ago.
fix. Yeah, yeah.
but here was a man willing to spend some time with me. I mean, we're about to go on a half
Yeah.
day hike, and I was like, ick, like, ugh, wear black socks. Yet that night, I went home and called up this guy who already expressed he was not interested in having a relationship with me. He was not ready to commit. But me thinking, well, I deserve better than black socks, man. I'm going to go for this man who has expressed he's not into me. But because I get to chase him, somehow he's worth more in my mind. So I think that happens a lot. It's like we think there's nobody good out there because we ruled all of them out. But then you have to like zoom out and say, what am I allowing into my life right now? I should have higher standards.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the
Yes.
biggest mystery to me still is like why we're always talking about the abundance of options, yet everyone thinks there's no one good out
Yeah.
there. And it's like a scarcity factor.
Oh my
And I think,
gosh.
and it's like
Totally.
when you meet that person that you have the chemistry with that has a lot of the qualities on the list, we gravitate to them and we want to make it work because it feels like they're like kind of the diamond in the rough, but we ignore a lot of other aspects about them. And a lot of this is, our red flag culture that we're in today, the ick culture, having a certain type that we can't get past. All of this like
Yeah.
stems really deep. And, we're not, again, not saying to not look for red flags, but there's a big difference of wearing black socks versus like being verbally abusive, right? Like the real
Right.
red flags, we're not calling red flags.
Okay, this is so good. So again, the therapist in me is like going crazy, like with all of this in such a good way, the way that you're like just saying it in a simple format of how like all of this stuff manifests. And
Mhm.
I feel like this trap is the most common thing that I see too, by
Mm,
the way. And that it's such a protection, first of all,
Yes.
of not getting hurt.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I have dating quizzes too, and one of my archetype is called the list lady. And the list lady,
mhm.
yeah, she has like the Bugs Bunny roll that goes out so long of the list that,
Yep.
that no one, and if there's one thing on the list, one thing that she like, it like red flags her, she's out of there,
Yep.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really that what people are doing are they're trying to protect themselves,
Hmm.
in this list because that reminded them of their ex or a
Mhm.
bad
Yes.
experiment or experience that they had. Conversely, on the other side, then if people fear rejection, no one's going to be good enough because then they
Hmm.
can't reject me.
Yep.
Yes.
Right. So it's all fear based, like every one of these traps, which is a good thing to just, I think, extract, knowing that people can overcome these things.
Yeah.
But you first have to be aware of what's happening. Have you found too? Because a lot of my clients, obviously, like they're concerned about just their glow overall, like their
Mm.
skin and feeling and looking youthful. Because I want to hear a little bit more too about the ageless operating system.
Yeah, because what's interesting is we work from the inside out, and I love you work from the outside in. It's no different. I guess peptides, technically, if some peptides are injections, and that freaks people out. But it's
Yeah.
once you do it once, and you're like, oh, that's nothing. It's very easy. We have nasal sprays, we have oral peptides, but there's a peptide called melanotan that a lot of my clients just love. And
Mm.
some of the people in similar groups that are on melanotan, and it's like you just look like you got off a vacation. You just like walked off a tropical island because it actually makes your skin tan. But at,
Ooh,
at
I
the
want that.
core, it, it's because it's nice. I mean, it's one of those things where you take somebody shopping, you hold their hand and you walk them through, and you're like, all right, you're getting these boots, and you're putting on a tight fitting dress, and now you're going to look in the mirror, and they're just like, they have your clients have tears in their eyes because that makes a difference. But if we can get their skin looking good, your largest organ in the body, then it's a way that you can actually start to feel like I'm making progress. And then you start losing the belly fat or the
Wow.
thigh fat or whatever saddlebags, whatever area you want to kind of focus on. There's amazing peptides like adipotide is this really cool peptide that they've found that it binds on the blood vessels that feed your white fat cells. And white fat cells are very toxic. They're metabolically inactive
Mm.
because they're white because all your mitochondria are concentrated at the center of the cell. And so it's like a hibernating bear, or it's like a squatter in a property you own, and you're like, get out of here. But so what it does is this peptide, it turns off the blood supply, and then it triggers autophagy so that your body starts using that white fat as energy. And then you use another peptide called 5-amino-1-MQ, and that triggers lipolysis. So you actually start burning that as a fuel source. And then people start seeing these massive metabolic changes, but they also notice that there's an increase in their athleticism. They feel a little lighter on their feet. And then they're like, actually, I like exercising again. What have you done? And I'm noticing my body composition's
Wow.
changing. And then we may use like a GLP-1, like maybe tirzepatide or retatrutide, and they're like, and I don't crave sugar. And they feel like they have power over their body. And that's our equivalent to you taking them shopping and putting on new clothes. You give us about 30 days, and somebody feels like they finally have power over their biology and it's not suppressing them. And that's kind of step one, is that quick win. But then the melanotan is where it's like they look in the mirror and they already feel better. But actually, from a medical perspective, it works on the melanocyte stimulating hormone pathways. So the melanin production gets
Mhm.
increased, you get better protection against the sun, and that's a huge healing factor. Get out in the sun first thing in the morning as the sun's rising, no sunglasses, and then as the sun's setting. That thing alone will change your life. I mean, it's so powerful just being outside and looking at the sun. And
Imagine
then,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. Actually, being
walking.
outside, being with people, like the things we used to do back in the good old days. Yeah. No. And again, it's like a lot of these things I love what you said about the empowerment piece of over your own body. Because it's like, again, the message is not about anybody else. Like you have the power to shift and change how you look and feel. And I think that's awesome. So I love how you're starting with people in that. And so, sorry, I just wanted to highlight that. Keep going. This is great.
No, and I think that's it, because what happens if you actually don't think about optimizing your health? You may never
Yeah.
know how good you could feel, because I have a lot of clients. The majority of our clients, they come because they're like, hey, I have a really great life. I built this awesome business. I've got these great relationships, and now I want to optimize my health. And they've usually sacrificed their health, to pursue wealth, and that's all fine.
Hmm.
But if they don't do it, a lot of these people, their lives, I mean, it's not just the fact that they don't live as long, but the years that they're living are not fully living because they don't have their health. And so people tell me all the time, I had no idea how much energy I was leaving on the table. I feel so much better. And usually their ambitions grow. They have better, futures that they're able to create because they have the energy to move into that new place. So Steve Jobs was amazing with Apple, and he died at such a young age, 56, I believe. Someone could
Yeah.
fact check that pretty easy, but he didn't need to die, but he once again he he sacrificed his health in the pursuit of wealth, and he
Mm.
didn't take advice from the right sources when it was life or death, unfortunately. So I think if people can get ahead of their health, and we have this mantra, no death by neglect, and what no death by neglect means is you got to get the right tests at the right time. And but then the other side of it is a lot of people know that they have diseases. And actually, one of the interesting studies that was done is people who had massive congestive cardiovascular events, congestive heart failure, they almost died. Of the hundreds of people that were surveyed, any idea of what percentage actually changed their lifestyle for good, even though they almost died from a heart attack? Any guesses from a
I have no idea because I know I'll guess wrong.
Well, and I only ask because I'm like, she's a therapist. She understands human psychology, but 10% of people who have like life-threatening like diseases, and they know if they go back to their old habits,
Yeah.
they're gonna risk it all over again. Only 10% make lifelong changes. 90% go back to the old habits. So that's the no death by neglect, is where you actually have accountability partners. You have people who scientifically put together an operating system for your body. And that's what we call the ageless future operating system, because just like your smartphone, your computer, if you don't do the updates, then it doesn't work anymore. And so in the ageless future, there's new technology coming in all the time, but you're always going to want to be changing your lifestyle. When you're 50, you're not going to be doing the same workouts that you were when you were 30, for example. It just wouldn't make sense based on your biology. So if you can adapt to the changes,
Hmm.
that can really create this essence of agelessness. And that's where I love the work you do, because you help people find their swagger in there. I think you mentioned that 85-year-old that went into a bar and picked up on a dude. I'm like, now that's what I'm into. Like, I mean, not, I mean,
Right.
if that's her thing, if
You're into
she's
85-year-old woman? No, I'm just kidding.
no, no, yeah, that probably came off wrong.
There's a lot of challenges and it's navigating all these things later in life, but there's also some beautiful things that happen as we age. Like we really get to know ourselves better. We get more in touch with our emotions. We're able to be more vulnerable, hopefully with practice, right? And we're also like, I don't know, we know we know who we are. We may not know what we want yet if you're like kind of out there for the first time later in life, but because you're so solid with, you as a person, and hopefully you've done some work, you're able to attract something different this time
Yeah,
around,
these
you
are
know?
encouraging statements, which I think are very important for people to hear. First
Yeah.
of all, what women have to know is that men do eventually mature. The older they get, the more they realize that nothing's a big deal. Don't take it the
Hmm.
wrong way. It's not a good communication skill when a man says to a woman, "Hey, it's not a big deal," but things are not a big deal to him. So don't worry about him. And realize that if something goes wrong, men, the older they are, the wiser they get. They can just like, don't worry about it, don't sweat it. He's not going to have a problem with it. You don't have to work so hard to please him. He's good. There's a certain level of maturity in a man, which I just have to say the name of the book was "Don't Sweat the Small Stuff,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
don't. It's all small. Don't what is it? Don't sweat the
Don't
small stuff.
sweat the
It's
small
all
stuff, I
small,
think.
and it's
Yeah.
all small stuff. And that's maturity for a man, and for a woman to understand that about men can make you more relaxed. Okay, and when a man is grumpy, because this is a low testosterone thing, it's temporary. That's what you have to know. Now, this is like in my dating book, this whole thing about when men get irritable or grumpy, it's like a dog barking, but his tail's still wagging. It's not a big deal to him. And a woman doesn't know that because when a woman barks, her tail is not wagging. Okay. Women are like, when they finally tell you what they're upset about, they've got a lot of evidence and they built it up, and it's not going to just shift right away. When a man is like grumpy, he'll forget it. If you ask him to do something, oh, I'm going to do that again. And then when he does it, he's forgotten all the grumpiness and whatever. If I asked my wife to do something and she was to say, "Oh, but I do this for you and this for the," now she's like in a bad state for quite a while. Women are not as fluid and flexible in that way as when a man is just asking them to do something. If there's a little annoyance and grumpiness, ignore it. Just ignore it. And it will go away as soon as he does the thing you've asked him to do, or you've shifted your mood. Just go into another room and come back and he'll have forgotten it if you have a smile on your face. Your smile, your happiness raises his testosterone, and it's biological. When testosterone goes up in men, there's nothing to worry about. It's all small stuff. It's no big deal. For men, when testosterone goes down, everything's a big deal. For women, when estrogen goes down, things are a big deal, and things are not loving and supportive. When her estrogen levels are at a healthier level, she can let go of stuff very quickly. That's what men need to know.
That is really interesting. And it is all about too a letting go. I think, later in life, don't
But
sweat the small stuff. It's so true. And I think we come into that later in life as
here,
well.
let me add something to that. It took you a moment to get that one because I wasn't really complete on that. Is with women, when their estrogen's low, things
Yeah.
become big. When estrogen at a healthier level, everything's small stuff to her, or she can bounce back very quickly. So what I explained to men is when women are not seeming fluid and happy, do little things for them. Okay, do little things, small stuff. And that builds her estrogen just as much as if you were to do big stuff. But you can't do 5 big things in a day. You can do 5 little things in a day, and you'll get the same. Each one has an estrogen response, and it's just offering to help in some way, giving a reassuring statement, giving hugs, non-sexual hugs, acknowledgement. And acknowledgement, of course, works both ways. You do so much for so many people. Let me give you a hug. It's one of my favorite things I say. It's just, it touches a woman's heart. I learned it from another woman. Okay. She said to the another woman, and all the women just swooned. And I do with my wife, honey, she's complaining about something. I'll listen a little bit. I say, that's terrible. That was awful. And then I say, you give so much. Let me give you a hug. See, and that's validating feeling. It just touches. A man would never think to say these things because we don't need you to say that to us. Uh, but my wife actually did the opposite one time. This is a fun thing, just understanding the differences of men and women.
Yeah.
Was working on a book and nonstop. When I go at these things, I write them in a month, 18
Wow.
hours a day writing. I come upstairs starting at 4 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night. I've got beard and a oil hair and
Came out of your cave.
yeah, I've been in my cave writing. We're in the cave now. And
All
so,
right.
but I would come up and my wife, she's so sweet. She wouldn't say anything. She would just say, here, John. And she gave me a bowl of hot water with salt in it. You can put your fingers into there because my
Oh.
fingers would be tired from typing so much. She was so sweet. She thought of it all herself. And she looked at me and she said, with some empathy and or compassion, oh, he does so much. But what she said is, I am so glad I don't have your job.
Oh my God.
I'm
Well
so
put.
glad I don't have your job. With such an amazing, I just want you to get how much that touched me, which is, yes, I do the hard stuff. I do the difficult stuff.
Exactly. You
And,
went
and,
and hunted.
and imagine if I had said to her when she was complaining about the kids or she's doing this, and I said, I'm so glad I don't have your job. It doesn't have the
It
same
wouldn't
effect.
work.
Doesn't
No.
work at all. It's like, yes, you don't know all that I do.
I
uh,
love that example, right? Because we are so different in so many ways, yet we all want the same thing, and that
yeah.
is love. And I just full circle from the beginning of the episode where you said, like we should want love, right? And it can be fun and to have hope around that. And I love that so many people later in life are getting married and it's
Yes,
not
and they're
too late.
finding companionship and they're getting together. They have less
Yes.
demands, they have less expectations, they have less neediness, so it can work better. And this is why I would just love to get again hope. Once we have clarity of what makes a relationship work over the age of 50, because you're not like searching for somebody to raise your kids and you're going to be dependent on them during that time.
Exactly.
It's less complex.
You are in your head a lot. You are
Right.
outcome based. You are logical, and I do remember having conversations about that. And there was a little bit of like a boxing rink happening in the beginning where you're like, I don't know about that. Like I remember there was some
Yeah.
pushback with it. Do you remember that?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There's some resistance to any change. Just,
Yeah.
humans are resistant to change. Fortunately, you didn't push me into things I didn't want, and I was willing to meet with you on the things that I was okay with. And so we really sort of met in the middle there, and it made it more comfortable, made it very, very helpful. And never unpleasant. You never ever pushed me to do anything, be anybody that I wasn't. And that's one of the things that I most remember about our consultations.
Where you were the lucky one. No, I'm just kidding. I never, I'm usually chill with that stuff. But yeah, there needs to be some push, right? Otherwise, you just stay the same because no one changes
Right.
the state of comfort, right? There's got to be some discomfort because that's the stuff that you need to like overcome. What were do you remember some of the fears that you were having around putting yourself out there? I know we talked about it back
Well, you know, rejection
then.
is one of them, and that really never goes away. Nobody likes to be rejected. I don't like it any more now than I did back then. Um, and one of the things that I've seen in dating is that has been frustrating is I will get a like from a woman and respond to it, and then she doesn't respond. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute. I didn't come to you and say, hey, I like you. You said you like me, but then when I like you back, there's nothing there. And so that's a very frustrating thing. Somebody has told me that a lot of people just click a lot of likes and then they'll weed them out when they see who responds. And that seems a little cruel, but that's life. Uh,
strategy, right?
So getting over that, talking small talk. I'm not a small talk, hey, how you doing? I'm Jeff, glad handing. I'm not completely introverted, but I am somewhat introverted, particularly around people that I don't know. And so being able to break through a little bit of that was part of my task. And so I would say that fear of rejection, not knowing what to say, um, those were the ones that I recall at at the moment.
Yes, I remember that. Do you remember we met at a hotel in Santa Monica? Because I know you live in the same town as me, and
Right.
I remember I just had the vivid memory of your dog Belle and your Hawaiian shirt and the rimless glasses, and like, and you're like, oh wow, this is a cool place because you hadn't ventured out. It was
Right.
it was so beautiful because you're like, oh, there's life, right? There's life
Yeah.
after divorce. There's, things that I can do to put myself out there. But yet, it's hard to know when you're by yourself, like where to go, what to do, how to be. And so I so appreciated your just like openness and your curiosity because it was all new for you. And the fact that you actually did the work and did some of the things that I said, and then it took practice.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but way back when I was a nightclub bouncer and a bartender, and so
Oh, that's
bars and
right.
that stuff are comfortable for me. I just didn't know where, really where to go. And after you and I met, Belle and I went to Casa, not Romantic. I can't remember Del Mar. I think it was
Yeah, that's where
Casa
we
Del
met.
Mar.
Hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
Belle and I went there several times on an evening and just had some drinks and uh, actually never met any women there, but met lots of people, had a lot of fun. So it was good just to get out.
Yes. And
And
and exercise the social muscle because to your point, if you
yeah.
lean towards more introversion and then when you're comfortable just being by yourself inside, like it and as time goes by, it gets worse because then it gets harder to just talk to people. And I think you're right. Just the mere fact of talking to people, I think then helped you just feel more relaxed on dates, right? Like and we started getting you out there more. So yeah.
And the fact that I had Belle as a wing girl
Yes.
was always good because even when you and I were there talking, people just come over to see her and to play with her.
Right.
And I will say that one of the things that I think helped my recent dating is uh, Belle and I are volunteers at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and she goes in there and visits patients and stuff. And so I put, something about what I like to do. That is what I like to do, and I think it was an ingratiating quality from the people, the comments that I got back. Oh, you must be kind of a nice guy. You got a beautiful dog. So I tried to use every tool that was available to me. And Belle is in most of my dating pictures because for two reasons. One, because I think she's an attraction, and two, because I wanted anyone that I would meet to know that we are a pair. We're
Yeah.
a package deal. And I used to joke that all I have to do is find someone who loves Belle enough to put up with me.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Yeah. Well, and I mean, all of these things were part of your marketing strategy too, if you think about
Yes.
it, right? Like
Oh, absolutely.
from the clothes to Bell to where you put yourself, and also because that's what I
To the
say,
pictures and all of that
pictures.
stuff. It was
Hmm.
well, I've always believed in investing in myself, whether it was school or whatever it was. So when I was, single again at 64 or 65, um, I was quite open to the idea of spending money to get some expertise that I didn't have. And so I was looking for someone like you who could help me. And not that money was easy because I was going through a lot of tough stuff with
Yes.
divorce and all that. But whatever it took, I was going to do because my future is worth that to me.
I think a lot of you listening, there are trust issues, and maybe that's why you hold back
Mm-hmm.
or you're worried about how you're coming across because maybe somewhere along the lines you got the message that you weren't good enough or you were reprimanded or criticized in some way. So I think that trusting the process, trusting that everything's going to be okay. I know I always joke to my client, I'm like, you realize like no one's going to go to the psych ward if you go into a coffee shop and say hi to someone. Like you realize like you're not breaking news. Like you just
No.
saying hi,
Right.
just saying hi, forget the pole dancing. I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
say
yeah.
hi, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, that's super important. I was wondering like was there ever a time on that note that people reacted poorly to you and like what did you do?
There was when I did the Starbucks video again, to go back to that one, there was two ladies who got really angry with me. They were the only people in the history of everything I've done that got angry at me, and they're like, "You were walking away. You just lost two customers." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Just I couldn't believe I was being yelled at. I couldn't believe they were telling me that Starbucks just lost the customers. And also I was kind of like, well, I have nothing to do with Starbucks, so oh well. But no, no, but we
Right.
did stop everyone down the street and tell them we were filming something. Um, but like you said, it's like with improv, it's, and you have to keep and is a very important word. So if someone says you just lost two customers, you don't just like get silent and awkward. You have to say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like maybe, or one person was like, "I have a meeting at I said, I have a meeting, in 20 minutes." And I'm like, "We could fit you in at 3:30." Like trying to make it like I'm accommodating them when I knew I wasn't accommodating them. I was like, there's a coffee shop around the corner. You can wait and come back. Um, you know, Pretending that I was accommodating people who were getting frustrated, um, but got to the point where I was able to confuse them. They were like, okay, you know, I think everyone wants to, like you said about saying hi in a coffee shop, I think no one wants to veer from their regular day. So if you say hi to someone in a coffee shop, they're going to say hi back. They're just going to, it's part of their day. Someone just said hi, they're going to say hi back. And if they don't, let's say they have a bad reaction. They're definitely not someone you want to be talking to anyway, because
Bingo.
they're not friendly or
Yeah,
approachable.
you're
And that
right.
has
Yeah, they're
nothing to
not
do
your
with you.
people. Yes.
It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with you.
Thank you. Well, and this is a good segue into the whole dating. So, I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, what we're talking about, a lot of it's just social confidence and how we initiate that connection in in the first part. But this obviously relates to dating, and you have
Hmm.
this amazing book. So, tell me about the book and like what's in it and how is it all related?
So I started writing Darcy Dates in 2010. I wrote it as initially as a blog under a pen name. I was dating after divorce in New York,
Mm.
and I couldn't believe my stories. Like I come to everything. I look at everything through the eye of comedy. Like what's funny about this, or how could I laugh about this? And I think for me, that's probably a defense mechanism or a way to handle heavy things. But it works for me. So rather than get down and out about something, I'm like, how could this be funny? So I started writing a blog, and they were episodic, short in nature, journaling of my dates. And I guess so. I sent it to five people who sent it to five more. All of a sudden, Darcy had a big audience. And I think it was divided. There were single people who would read it who were like, I'm not alone in these
Mm.
stories.
Hmm.
Dates are, can be awful, and like I'm not alone, or I've had this or something crazier happen. And then there was like a whole other section of people who were married or date or had someone, and they wanted to live vicariously through, or whatever. But all in all, I think people were cheering for Darcy. They wanted Darcy to find love. And I think the most important lesson of the journey of writing Darcy is I realized Darcy wasn't actually necessarily looking for love, but she was looking to find herself, which is, I think, an important thing in dating in general. Sometimes you think you're looking for for something to complete you, but you're really looking to figure out who you are and what's important to you
Oh my God. Every single time. I know
every
it's
time.
funny when I do my dating retreats or programs and whatnot, like at the end they'll say, "Wait, Kimmy, this wasn't about dating or the
Right.
man." I said, "No, what is it?" "Oh,
It
this is about
rarely
me."
is. It
Yeah.
rarely is. And that's,
Yeah.
I think the sooner people learn that lesson about dating, which is like, so I dated so much, after my divorce and my son was younger. And it wasn't until I became an empty nester that I think I really had the bandwidth to find the right relationship, the full relationship I was looking for. I'm actually getting remarried in
I
October.
was just gonna ask you. Oh,
Yeah.
congrats.
But when I became an empty nester, I actually dated so much differently than I did when I was a single mom because when you're a single mom, you have very limited time. You'd have like one night a week or two nights tops. So I think, and I don't know how, I'd be so curious how you feel about this as like a dating coach, but I think the one thing I learned that made me date so differently is I actually dated with a roster for the first time. And I
Yeah.
would tell everyone that that's how you should be dating. And my reasoning for it is this. When I only had time to date one person at a time, if they didn't align with what I was looking for, if I noticed something that I was like, I was still so limited in my free time that I was like, maybe it'll change or maybe we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. But as you know, like I say, date people for who they are, not for who you want them to be. So if you have a roster of people that you're dating, um, and you could be honest about it, which I was, which is another, interesting thing to talk about. But if you notice that someone is kind of like not measuring up to how the other people are treating you on the roster, it's easier for you to cut it off because you see that you can find someone else that will treat you kindly or be, whatever it is that you're looking for. So I think that that's a very important piece of dating to not put all your eggs in one basket, not because you're attracted to someone, be like, this is the person, because you have to look past the attraction and all that to see if they actually align with what you're looking for.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make when it comes to their online presence? Because I have a feeling it's very similar to what I see in the dating profiles too. So I think we could all learn from you.
Yeah, yeah, and I actually would love to ask you that question as well. So I see, so I'll maybe go through three or four. I see number one, folks thinking that my job as, again, some sort of leader of a team or a business, a company, is that my job is to kind of regurgitate whatever sort of the PR team has told me to say.
Oh,
So it doesn't have to even be as literal as I'm going to post a press release on LinkedIn. It could just be I become kind of a mouthpiece for the product launches, the customer announcements, the trade shows, and it's okay to have some of that in there. But one of the things that I teach my clients is that we really want to have a portfolio because you as a human are a portfolio. So keep that, maybe add a little bit of your sense of humor, your personality, your point of view is super important, especially at that level. But then, in addition to talking about the goodness of the business, perhaps we also cover where you see the industry going in the next 10 to 20 years, or how you like to build culture internally with your people, or what you're doing, on summer vacation. Like, let's pepper in more about you because that's what's going to make people want to follow you, engage with you, and then grow your ability to influence.
oh my God. So I just thought of something fun that we could do because after as you go over some of these things, then I can also see how it shows up in dating, right? Like, and we can kind of compare and contrast because as you're talking, I see exactly the same thing in dating profiles.
Mhm.
So what people will do is they'll like when they write their profile, they'll rattle off like almost like a grocery list of things that they're looking for or who they are. Like, I like to travel. I like dogs. I like this. I like it's like, like Dr. Seuss, like so vanilla that like honestly chat GBT could write that. Like and probably better to be honest. And so I say the same thing. It's like, what can you do to inflect more of like that personal touch by giving examples? So instead of saying, I like to travel, I'll say, you'll find me climbing the mountains of such and such, on a vacation in August. And then those details is what makes it real and also what people can ask about. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting, like what you're saying, because I see the same thing. So okay,
Yeah.
that's a really good one.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll add a second one, but just to build on what you said, we all see this, maybe we just don't even realize what we're seeing when we read posts on social, right? Like whether it's video, it's the written word, however the medium might be, stories stick,
Yes.
right? So what you were just saying about don't just say that you like to hike. Actually talk about a place that you've hiked, a trip that you've gone on. How far did you go? Who are you with? What was a challenge that you faced and overcame? Like that's the kind of stuff that makes people not only lean in and kind of fall in love with you because they can relate or they admire or they remember, but it's just more interesting, frankly, as a consumer of content to read stories than sort of laundry lists like Dr. Seuss.
Okay, so that's exactly what I teach my people when they go on dates. I said, because so we work on storytelling a lot, like whether, people are taking my flirt workshops and I'll do like exercises around tell a story about a subject and then don't say like where you're from, don't give a laundry list of how long you've been single. Like they can read that on LinkedIn. I actually like joke about LinkedIn and dating. I'm like, your all exchanges look like a business LinkedIn exchange, and instead do something that is more storytelling. The other thing that I love about storytelling is that that's what makes you more memorable. Like if you have a conversation, most likely when you walk away, you're going to remember the story about what that person told rather than like a fact
Yeah,
that was important
totally.
to them, right? So I
Totally.
love that. I love that. Okay, so what else?
Okay, number two, I would say that there is a feeling of I need to be perfect.
Oh.
And again, I'm sure you see this on the dating
Oh my God,
side.
this is so good. I see, I told you.
So, and again, LinkedIn is a great example where and it's been around for a long, long time. And historically, I think we all know, it's really been kind of a resume repository. And then it sort of evolved a little bit into more of a professional networking space. But honestly, Kim, over the last 2 years, I've really seen LinkedIn morph. Like it has become a proper
Wow.
social network where people are having conversations, they're sharing things that are more personal and vulnerable. What I love about that platform, frankly, is that it's still like a pretty safe, mature, kind of just healthy place to be. You don't see some of the stuff that you see in some of the other platforms as nearly as often, which I love. But you are seeing more of people's full selves reveal, which we didn't see maybe 3, 4 years ago. So that's exciting. But there's still a tendency, I think, especially again when you're at an elevated level, you're responsible for a big budget, big team, et cetera. The pressure can be high, and you want to come across as being perfect. And I don't mean to say that you want to have egregious grammatical errors in your copy or you want to have, terribly lit video, out of your living room. I mean, there's certainly levels of just basic professionalism, but um, I absolutely think that being imperfect and showing
Mhm.
that you're working on something new, you're trying an experiment out, asking for feedback, again, that builds warmth and approachability.
Oh my God. See, yes, this is all, no, it's all similar to that. Because, I mean, really what we're talking about is human connection. I don't care if it's business or relationships. I mean, relationships are relationships, and
Yeah.
I think with also AI growing, I think it's even more important to have that like vulnerable touch that is backed up by a story so that people actually know that you're real,
Yes.
and so obviously we're seeing this on the dating apps. Like there's so many like scammers and bots and you don't know who's real, and so the more authenticity you can infuse in your profile. Beyond that though, and I don't know if you recommend this like when you're chatting with people in LinkedIn, but like when people are exchanging DMs,
Mhm.
like in their Bumble account or whatever it is, I don't do the prompts. I tell people all the time because there's people don't know what to say. So they'll throw out and copy and paste some of the prompts that the apps give,
Mhm.
or they'll throw out these like lofty questions like, "Hey, how are you?" or "How was your weekend?" Like, what are you supposed to say to that? you know? So really like understanding that the more you like for what you were saying, that you share that authentic kind of connection where maybe you see something in the profile and you say, "Oh my gosh, me too. I did that." Or, and that is such a better way of connecting. And honestly, I would imagine to do business with too. Like, I'd much rather connect with you at a personal level. I know you're smart already. Like, we don't have to like exchange that. But if I like you, I'm going to do business with you.
Yep, 100%. Totally. I think, one of the silver linings that came out of the pandemic, in my experience, is that it broke down some of these artificial barriers that we have erected for, millennia, between work and home,
Yeah.
private and public, right? I'm this person in my 9 to 5 in my suit, and I'm this other person on the weekends and at night. I think because we all went online and many of us on video, and again, almost all of us from, unless you were, in a frontline kind of role, you were working from home. And so we got to see the kids and the dogs and the messy house and all those things, right? We had the interruptions. And I think that some of that has still bled through into 2025.
Hmm.
We are seeing people as full humans more than we did back in 2019. And I think that's a huge blessing because the idea that we're two different people in work and play, I believe is an artificial construct.
So what didn't work and what are you wanting now?
What didn't work is that whoever I would stand in front of was not willing to negotiate or navigate a relationship that worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly I'm monogamous and I um, want to. So the things that were important to me when I was in my 20s, 30s, or 40s, 50s, 60s even,
Mm-hmm.
are long gone because now at 70, I just want somebody who I'm comfortable with. I want to find someone who kind of, well, I still want to say completes me, but not in a way that's like needy. I don't need anything. I desire to have compatibility and I desire to have um, someone who's willing to talk about what they're feeling and their emotions and not step over things, like that was uncomfortable for me. Oh, get over it. No, 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 no. No, I can't. That's not who I am. I need something more.
Well, and it sounds like a little bit like what you're saying is you kind of got sucked into the vortex of a relationship to, kind of, feel complete at that point in your life, when you were younger, and now you're just
Uh,
in this beautiful space of coming into yourself and knowing more solidly what you want separate from the partnership. But that's still part of the journey, and it's like that's why I think dating without getting attached would be so crucial for you
Oh,
because
I think it wasn't even a concept that I
yeah.
could have imagined before I talked to you. I'm like, what? You can date? Like, seriously? Anyone I want? Like, even I could ask them out. Hey, how would you? Wow, that's exciting.
Oh, I love that you're excited by that. Yeah. And also,
Yeah.
I think what happens too, and especially with the nature of the relationships you're describing, was it more like where you kind of were caretaking and it was all about like their needs rather than yours?
Well, don't want to be a teacher. I want to
Yeah.
have a relationship with a man who has done his work that is willing to face the fire, as it were, of transformation to be in relationship. I mean, when we look at each other, we could be each other's the perfect mirror for each other's childhood wounding
Mm.
And if you haven't done the work around that, then you're like, you're going to constantly be frustrated. So I think that our job these days is to take a look at how, if in a certain situation, are we responding or are we reacting? If we're reacting, then that's coming from another time zone. It's not coming from this person who's standing with you who happened to say something that reminded you of your dad,
Mm.
that that's going to be triggering, but whose is it? Whose stuff is it? Is it yours or is it theirs? And how can you hold space for that if it's not yours? Like, wow, I hear that you're really upset about that. You want to talk about that? And if they're like, oh, no, then it's probably not the person for me.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. Good. I know, and I love that you're saying that because I was going to ask you, and we talked about this a little. Obviously, like we can't change the guys, and you're going to find these guys who haven't done work on themselves. Like they're all over the place because
Yeah.
all you have control over is you. To your
Correct.
point, what are some things that you've worked on that will help you kind of demand more for yourself? Like, has there been some connection with the things that you dealt with growing up that you realize?
Um, was so when I realized that all of my trauma, all my pain seemed
Mm-hmm.
to come from the things that happened in my childhood that my mother or father did or said.
Mm,
And and that's what I needed to look at because we make limiting beliefs that like they said this and we made it mean something for us.
mm-hmm.
And because we're like under the age of 7, we don't have the resources to actually know that that's, just a moment in time. So we give it meaning. And then that's where we live our lives from. So that's the stuff that I feel that we all need to look at, like
Yeah.
there was a moment when I was 7 in the driveway with my dad, and my parents were splitting up, and my dad said what he said to me, and he just like I made thousands of limiting beliefs in that moment about everything. Like my dad
Mm.
doesn't love me. I can't say no to men. I lost my voice. It's taking
Oh.
all these years to find myself again. And I love myself now, and I'm really happy to be with just me. But it would be brilliant if I could share this goodness with somebody else.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, bingo. I'm really glad you got to that because I was wondering where this was all coming from. Because I mean, it just sounds like you're amazing. And for some reason, it's like you're stopping you. But I think there's always going to be those gremlins from voices of the past
Oh,
that have dimmed your light, right? Or have shut down your voice. And honestly, that's where I feel where you're at right now, Joni, is to really shine. Like be that shiny object that everybody can adore and maybe can't touch yet. That where you're just being heard and you just see who listens. And I think that's like the first goal, even, before you even think about the formal word dating. It's just getting used to being seen and being heard.
oh my gosh. That is the crux right there. Getting used to being seen and heard is so big. And that what I started this class last night, and that's exactly what everyone, there were like 8 people in the group, and they're from all over the world. And that's what they're like, no, 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 no. I don't want to be, no, I can't be seen. No, I'm not going to go on screen. No, I'm not going to, don't
Mm,
see me, but don't see me.
mhm.
Into me see is scary for everyone.
Yes, yes. And now knowing where it comes from, and you're so right. We all become like the little girl, the little boy when our confidence is low. So fast forward where you're sitting now, when it comes to like, say, putting yourself out there to flirt with men, the little girl Joni might be, kind of like the gremlin in your head saying, oh, I can't be heard, I can't be seen. And it's subconscious. But
Right.
also there's fear with that too, because history has it was shut down or it was about the other person, not about you. So I feel like, and as you're kind of thinking about it, what are some ways that you have been kind of hiding or shutting down when it comes to men?
Well, just that very thing. I will talk myself into staying home.
Ah,
I will eat too much, I will, so I don't feel well. If you don't eat right, you don't feel well. So I would do that and just say, okay, well, no, I have to stay home. But I just, I think on some levels, I might ignore my own best counsel, like, oh, you should
yeah.
go. Oh, no, it's like this internal dialogue. No, I'm not. No, yeah, I'm not. So it's a back and forth. And I appreciate what you said about the confidence in the little girl because I so I can almost close my eyes and see me as a young child being happy and smiling and laughing. And so when you say go out there and shine, I'm like, well, then that's what I have to do. I just have to have my confidence as an older woman and have my little girl come out to play. Come on, let's go have fun. Forget all this nonsense about the world. Let's just be here having fun.
So thanks for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And as we wrap up this holiday special and head into a brand new year, I want to leave you with this. Motivation doesn't come from waiting to feel ready, to just listening, to just reading books, to just being a passenger in your car. It comes from taking one small action that tells the universe, and most of all yourself, that I'm doing this differently now, that I'm in the driver's seat and now I'm going to press the gas and go. But here's the thing, you do need a roadmap. So keep listening to the podcast because I definitely hope I give you some ideas. And by the way, always email me, always let me know maybe different themes and topics that you want to hear about as we head into the new year as well. And if you want 2026 to look different than 2025, if you're tired of the same dating patterns, attracting the same kind of people that you know aren't good for you, feeling invisible or losing yourself in the process, this is the moment to take action, to make that shift. And you don't have to do it alone. Remember, I'm always here for you if you're ready to break those patterns and create a new dating life. And maybe this is your New Year's resolution. Just click the link in the show notes to hop on a free private call with me. Yes, it is me. Now is a great time. I have more time because it is the holidays. I'm kind of laying low. I'd love to chat with you and we'll uncover what's been holding you back and map out a personalized plan to help you create the love story that you are hoping for and deserve as we head into the new year. Because remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.